the Americans have come up with a good idea for paying underperforming politicians.
I love this. How can we get it trending here? I'm being dead serious. You may have heard of Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg. He's best known for doing absolutely nothing about transport and everything about his favourite pet projects. Most recently, check out his $1 billion plan to make roads less racist. You heard it here first. Roads are racist. He's also best known for not visiting until 2 weeks after the disaster that happened in East Palestine, Ohio, that massive train derailment that saw hundreds of thousands of pounds of hazardous waste pour out into that state. He didn't even address it for 10 days. You're the Transport Secretary, for crying out loud. If it's not your job, whose is it? Well, Georgian Congressman woman Marjorie Taylor Greene, I had to get that last name correct, decided that she was going to do something about this, because I'm sure we all agree that these people should be paid their worth. So she put up an amendment suggesting that this man be paid a $1 salary. It passed. Check it out.
My amendment uses the Holman Rule to reduce the salary of Secretary Pete Buttigieg to $1. Pete Buttigieg has failed to serve the American people as the Secretary of Transportation. He has been busy calling roads racist, enforcing equity action plans, and implementing climate change initiatives, rather than strengthening our nation's transportation and infrastructure systems.
This is brilliant. This is the way forward. I already have a list of names, numbers. We just need to get them passing amendments. That means, okay, you didn't do your job. Now you get paid accordingly.
If you're going to have a list of names, though, I've got to say, you've got to get the names right. His name isn't Buttigieg, it's Booty Juice. Remember this?
Now it is my great honor to introduce the President of the United States, President Joe Biden.
Thank you, Secretary Buttigieg.
I mean, he ought to be paid $1 for being called Senator Booty Juice. Imagine if we could pay Joe Biden $1. You know, he probably wouldn't even notice the difference. Oh, pay packet's changed. He doesn't remember what he got paid last week. You could give him $1 and he'd be perfectly happy with it. But you are quite right. Why can't we do this here? I mean, you could come up with a list as long as your arm of politicians who are dead useless, many of them in safe seats who take their constituents for granted, never go out and talk to anyone, never have any concern for what anyone thinks or what they ought to be doing, just going along their merry way, particularly in the Senate. I mean, I'm always surprised, and I'd like to think that I'm pretty plugged into politics. Every now and again, I hear of a senator and I'm like, hang on, I've never heard this name before. Like, who is this person?
For us?
I know. And so how? And then I looked them up, and inevitably they've been in the Senate for like 10 years, and it's like, how can you have been in the Senate for 10 years? And as someone who has worked as a reporter covering politics, who's been a chief of staff, who has read literally every single story that I put into the paper when I was in that job, right? And I've never come across this name. What are you doing for us? $1 for you.
All right, so I've had some thoughts, right? So I reckon Elbow, he's probably worth $1. Chris Bowen is definitely not worth $1. That would be overpaying him.
We'd be getting ripped off.
What about this, though? We could pay Jim Chalmers, the Treasurer, $1. The problem is by the time you took it out of your pocket and gave it to him, it'd be worth 80 cents. But Scott Morrison, we should pay Scott Morrison $5. He gets $1 for being Health Minister, $1 for being Finance Minister, $1 for being Home Affairs Minister. And here's my final thought. I reckon with the Greens, we don't cut their salary at all. Offer them full pay as long as they promise, having walked out of the Senate, to never ever come back. You stay on full wages.
Give you all the dollars that you want. But imagine if we could actually penalise these guys for being so half-baked, or for telling outright furfies when they say they care, they're busy beating up on the opposition. Remember this from pre-Prime Ministership Albanese?
The real problem here, Michael, is on cost of living is that wages simply aren't going up, but everything else is. Petrol was almost $2 a litre.
Almost $2. Bring it back. It sounds like Nirvana. And here's pre-treasurer in the hot seat, Chalmers.
This is a full-blown cost of living crisis on Scott Morrison's watch. When things are going well in the economy, he takes all of the credit. And when times are tough in the economy, he takes none of the responsibility.
Wow, who does that sound like? Isn't this the guy who took all the credit? We're back in black.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks to the mining industry that I work daily to squash to smithereens. I mean, do me a favour.
We heard all of his solutions yesterday, right? Because they jacked the interest rates up another 25 basis points. Chalmers was just absolutely full of them.
The primary driver of inflation in the most recent data was petrol. We're not currently working up any proposals on the fuel excise.
I mean, seriously.
$1.
$1 for him. $1 for him.